So in this class, we're focusing on transition, and transition can mean a lot of different things. So for some people, it's just I transition from one fishbowl to another fishbowl. For some people, they think transition is just meaning change is ahead, and for a lot of people, transition kind of can be summed up with this quote: "It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it." Transition means something very specific in Kentucky when we're talking about students with disabilities. And in school, we think of transition a lot of times transitioning from one grade to another, from one school to another. But transition for students with disabilities specifically refers to the process that begins when students are transitioning to adult services or to adulthood. That's very specific when we're looking at ages. So according to IDEA on the ed.gov website, that focuses on the federal law, IDEA, which governs special education, transition must begin by age 16. And we know that states can choose to add to that definition. We can't do anything less than the federal government requires, but we can do more. And in Kentucky, we are doing more. So Kentucky mandates that transition begin by age 14 or 8th grade. So whichever milestone comes first, whether a student turns 14 or enters the 8th grade, we must begin the transition process at that time. And in Kentucky, all of the regulations have been compiled and consolidated into the IEP Guidance Document, which you can find on KDE's website by searching for Guidance Document for the IEP. It's also linked within our course. So what does that document tell us? It tells us a few things. One is that the transition plan must comply with IEP guidelines and must be based on the Common Core. So in Kentucky, we are linked to the Common Core for all of our content standards, and you can find all of the content standards, including practical living and career studies, which are key to the transition years, under KDE's website by searching for content or program areas, or you can search practical living and career studies. So the guidance document on pages 5 and 6 tells us that we must do transition assessments, again, for students in 8th grade or age 18, or I'm sorry, in 8th grade or age 14. That must be person-centered planning, that we must have an individual learning plan. We have to include student and parent surveys. We have to look at college and career readiness, including looking at the TAR and employability skills assessment results, any data that we have collected that looks at how a student will be successful once they end their school years, which in Kentucky and across the nation, according to IDEA, students can be in school up until age 21 if they have a disability. When you're looking at the guidance document on page 13, it specifically addresses in the present levels what must be found for transition needs. So again, the age is either 8th grade or 14, whichever comes first. We have to address the following students' needs based on their planned course of study. By age 16, we also have to look at those post-secondary goals. So the transition needs must include one or more of the following areas. You don't have to include everything to start, but you do have to include at least one. So whether you're looking at instruction or a related service, speech, OT, physical therapy, ABA, any kind of vision and mobility services. If you're looking at community experiences, looking at development of employment skills, post-school adult living objectives, acquisition of daily living skills, looking at functional vocational evaluations, but you have to choose one of these areas. You have to develop the students' present levels, which includes their current strengths and needs, and then develop a goal based on those transition needs. So just to kind of sum it up, in Kentucky, we're looking at 8th grade or by the age of 14. IDEA and the federal government says you have to begin by age 16. So depending on what state you are in, you can have a younger age like we do in Kentucky, or must be started by the age of 16. If you have questions, the resources that I used to gather this information included IDEA's information on ed.gov and also the Kentucky website, the KDE website. Please let me know if you have any questions. Ask in the questions board, and it should be a great module of learning.